All right, welcome back to the Contrarians. Thanks everybody for joining us. We have a special guest today, Peter. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
Good, good. How are you, Marco?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. We're going to be continuing our showcase series, which is basically an opportunity for folks at home to get to know some of the folks that participate in our chats and contribute as panel members. And this is a good opportunity to get to know them a bit better, ask them a few questions, have a little bit of fun, and usually they provide content as well. So it gives you an opportunity to figure out what they do and if you want to like and subscribe their channel as well. So, Peter, first thing I want to do today is ask you about you and your channel. What made you decide to get into YouTube broadcasting, and how's it going so far?
Yeah, no, it's going well. Thanks for asking. I guess I got into this whole YouTube game through your channel, The Contrarians, and maybe taking it a step further through COVID. We had multiple lockdowns in Australia and watching a lot of YouTube and starting to watch shows like The Sea of Tranquility. And I came across your show, and I think it was one of those panel chats, Dark Horse albums on, I think it was an Ozzy Osbourne album, The Ultimate Sin. And I was really engaged, and I was hooked, and I was looking at a lot of the shows that, even going back further, that you and Martin were doing on Dark Horse albums. So I was sort of tiptoeing the water. Should I or shouldn't I? Because I really thought that that's something that I would really like to do instead of being a viewer, jump across the screen and be a participant in one of those panel chat shows. And I'm really glad that I made the transition across. So I did the first show, and I can't watch it now. I tell you, Marco, probably a little bit cringe and embarrassing what to say and when to say it, and saying too much. But it was a fun experience, and just connecting with some of the people on the show, I wanted to explore, and I thought, hey, I could really do my own YouTube channel and just maybe explore a musical wheelhouse a bit more outside the Contrarians. So, and just exploring topics that weren't currently explored at that particular time. So it was about a year ago that I did my first show with Reed Little. So I connected with him, and we did a show about Never Let Me Down, David Bowie, and that was a year ago. And that's where the story began. And a year later, I'm still plugging away and doing YouTube shows, and I'm enjoying it thoroughly.
Awesome. And your channel is Rock Daydream Nation.
Rock Daydream Nation, yes, Rock Daydream Nation. So yeah, I've got about 90 videos up, all different types of music. It's basically music that I love. So on one day it could be metal, one day it could be new wave, punk, garage rock, classic rock, pop. It's the whole gamut, and it's just music that I love. And just doing panel chats, interviews, deep dives, and even me just in just doing a solo show, record purchases and sort of music that I like and I've picked up and people should get into. So
Very
no,
cool.
it's been a lot of fun. Been a lot of fun.
Congratulations on the 1 year.
Yes,
What was the
thank you.
biggest lesson you learned this year?
Biggest lesson is keep going and don't get sort of perturbed by trolls. So some lessons, and you probably know this in the YouTube world, Marco, is there's some narcs and trolls and people dislike. You just keep moving because you've just got to be authentic and be yourself. And not everyone's going to like what you do. And part of the journey is that you're going to win subscribers and you're going to lose subscribers. I'm just in it for my own enjoyment and just communicating and just getting my love of music, because it's one of my passions. I just love music. And yeah, just basically, you know, what I say to the viewers is try out the channel, subscribe. There may be something that you don't like, but just hang around. There'll be something that you may like coming just around the corner, because I cover the gamut. It's, one day it might be Slayer, the next day it might be the Beatles. It's just, I just do the full world. And that's just who I am. I'm just being who I am, and that's me.
Very cool. Since your show came out of the Contrarians, what's something that you're very contrarian on?
Oh, well, this is a confession, and I might get a little bit of hate mail, but I'm not a big fan of the Beach Boys. I don't sort of get it. So that's just one of those things. I like some of their songs, and I know a lot of the contrarian folk, a lot of my peers are really into the Beach Boys, but they're just one band. I think Martin Popoff in a recent video said the same, but they're just a band that I haven't got, and I just don't get. So that's probably the most super contrarian. There's some other bands that I'm not really fussed on, but I won't disclose that. I'll just keep that a secret. But
Okay.
Beach Boys is the one, and I would love to get them. I realize, like intellectually, there's a couple of songs that are just stone cold classics, but as a body of work, yeah, sorry,
You
sorry.
talked about record collecting. Do you have a holy grail and do you own it?
Uh Look, I've got a record that I won in a competition when I was 4 years old. There was this competition where there was these little satchels that came in bread, and you write your name and send it away. And I got a record in this competition. It was like 1972 or 71, and it was a prog rock band called Piranha, an Australian prog rock band. They played like a Satana progressive rock. Check it out. It's not bad. Anyway, as a kid, what you used to do is you used to get crayons and put your name on it. Ugh. Like as a record collector now, you just don't do that sort of thing. So when I started to, get really into record collecting, I realized that this record was worth a fair quid, and it's kind of a holy grail. Even with my scrawling and craying of my name, it's worth a bit of coin because they didn't do a huge pressing. And I've played it a fair bit and I don't mind it at all. So that's sort of the holy grail record that I own. But in respect of holy grail records that I'd like to get, I think there's a few out there. There's a Stevie Wright album. Stevie Wright used to be the lead singer of the Easy Beats, and he was on the Albert label, which is like AC/DC's label. And first pressing of his album is Black Eyed Bruiser. I think they only did one or two pressings. It's worth $1,000, and that's cheap. And that's the holy grail that I'd like to get. And I was at a record fair and I saw the album, and it was in like VG plus, which is not the highest rating. And I did a George Costanza. I took the record out. I hid it behind another record because I had to go to the ATM to get money back, you know. So I went to the ATM, got the money out. It's gone. Somebody
No
took it.
way.
I couldn't believe it. It's the only time I've seen this album in the wild. And yeah, look it up on eBay. It's worth a fortune. And even the cassette that came out on the Alberts label, a little cassette, it's worth like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So that's my holy grail that I'm still looking out for. Stevie Wright, Black Eyed Bruiser. Um, Maybe someone's got a cheap copy they can put my way. I don't know.
Wow. Going back to the Piranha record, did you write your name on the label or on the grooves?
Inside. So it's a fold out,
Oh,
and
okay.
I put
On the
my
sleeve, on
name in,
the
yeah, in the
album
inside.
cover.
But even with that, working it out, it's still worth a fair quid. So I didn't totally destroy it, but I just had a pen and just showing my, a 3 or 4 year old penmanship, Peter Kerr. And anyway,
Yeah,
you live and you learn.
you see that with comic books, like old comic books too. People draw, like kids drew on the cover, or they cut out the stamps, or they cut out the centerfold and stuff like this, right? It's just it is what it is, right? Like,
And writing on labels, because I guess there was a lot of record sharing in the old days in the 70s. You exchange records with your friends and put your name on it. But for a true purist record collector, and I'm nowhere near that, that's like a no-no. That's sort of that's not, that comes down a notch. It's not near mint.
yeah,
Anyway.
absolutely. We know you're a big fan of music. Is there anything we don't know about you?
Um, I was a classically trained pianist. So when I was about 6 years old, my mum and dad, they're a very musical family. They got me into teaching me how to do the piano. I did that for 10 years. Could have been a music teacher, but I sort of pulled back. And as you do, you get rebellious in the teenage years. And got into my metal and punk and new wave, and went on a whole different sort of journey. Yeah, I can play a few instruments, played the cello, bass guitar. So, and sometimes I try to just lay down some tracks and just write music, but nothing really, sort of putting out there on YouTube. Maybe one day. Used to knock around in a few garage bands in the, the late 80s or the early 80s. Yeah, look, just being brought up with music and even with just the piano training, I think it's the best thing my mum and dad ever did was put me in that direction because, going to piano lessons on a Saturday morning was like, oh, I'd rather play soccer or do this or do that. But at the end of the day, what they gave me was the gift of music and the love for music. And when I actually hear a song, it sort of puts me into that position of what are they doing? How is it? How was it written? Getting into right deep into the song. And that's what I sort of kind of hope I quasi do sometimes on Rock Daydream Nation, not just say, hey, this is a great song, but just give it a little bit of depth, a little bit more than just what's on the surface.
You've done some kind of like hosting shows with Grant and interviewed some musicians.
Oh, I did one. So we interviewed Prescott Niles from the Knack.
Right.
And
What was that like? And what are your memories of interviewing him?
well, that was amazing. So just with musicians, and it's something that I'm going to do a lot more in 2023. I've got a few lined up, but just basically, I was able to get the agent of Prescott Niles, and to those who are not aware, he's the bass player of the Knack. And I just wrote an email to said that I'm a huge fan and I would like to, if he's got some time to do an interview. And this was around the time of Record Store Day when they were re-releasing a Knack concert that was done in 2000 or I think 2001. And anyway, the agent said Prescott's all for it. He wants to do it, and we lined up a time. Prior to that, Grant had liaised with me and said, hey, would you be interested in doing a Knack show? And I went back to him and said, look, I've been able to secure Prescott Niles. I don't think he believed me. I think I was probably bullshitting. I'm pulling his leg, but it actually happened. And then I think Grant realized that, oh, it's getting real. We are actually going to do an interview. So we lined it up, and in my first email to the agent to line up the interview, said I only wanted to, 10 minutes, that'd be great just for our show. We ended up speaking to him for 2 hours, and he could have spoken for 4. He was just the most engaging guest. He told us great stories, and my God, this is the guy who did the iconic bass line for My Sharona and telling us the stories behind recording that album and recording that song. And people forget, for a moment of time, they were the biggest band in the world. They were number one all around the world, and everybody knows My Sharona. So he was a most engaging guest, and it was just fun to do with Grant. And I'm definitely going to be doing some more interviews in 2023.
On that note, have you seen the Weird Al biopic, and what are your thoughts on that? And if not, what are your thoughts on Weird Al in general?
His novelty, would I see it? Maybe if it was on Netflix. He's not probably in my wheelhouse, but it hasn't come out here. So, but Weird Al is funny because some of his songs charted better than the originals. So he had a song in Australia called Eat It. That went to number 1. Beat It went to number 2. So the parody song actually sold more units than the song that he was actually imitating. So go figure that out. But yeah, look, Al is, I think, very popular in Australia because a lot of his songs did chart. Like a Surgeon, there were some others, but Eat It was the one that was really stuck out and got played on radio.
Which Australian musicians make you the most proud?
Midnight Oil. They're fantastic. I saw their last concert. They're true blue, authentic. They've got they're very they've got a sense of social justice, whether it's political, environmental, indigenous rights. They've stuck to their guns. Their sound has evolved. From originally they were very post-punk, but then they evolved into a slightly more commercial. They went to the world and they spread what I think is the quintessential Australian sound, and they were just authentic. They just didn't change with the times and the different fads, and just were authentic and just were them. And very sad to see them. I saw their last gig. They played for 4 hours, almost 4 hours, 47 set song. It's on my YouTube channel. I did a quick review. I couldn't even process it. But there were grown people, grown men around me just crying, and they've just been a fabric of Australians' lives. And I know in Canada, they're quite good. They're quite huge. Marco, I was looking at their chart sort of history, and I know that they had a bit of a following in Canada with a number of their albums. But yeah, they're the quintessential Australian band to me.
Nice. And where do you see your channel in the next 5 years?
Growing. I just see the channel growing and going into different areas. Just doing lots more of just exploring different type of music. What I'd like to do is a lot of the focus is on music that's been done, classic albums. But what I would like to do is focus on a lot of music that is now, because one of the things that I'm really into is seeing gigs. And I still get out there, and nothing brings me greater joy than going to a pub and seeing a band of, up and coming band, and seeing that the passion that they have in regards to their music, and just wondering, are they the next big thing? So seeing live music is one of my passions, as well as listening to music and collecting and all that sort of stuff. And nothing gives me greater joy in seeing a new up and coming band. And what I want to focus in the next 5 years is I'd like to sort of look more on music that is now, because there's a lot of great rock music, and we're in a different world. It's all about a lot of the good music is done on sort of on YouTube. It's not through the record labels. It's not through the companies as it was before. And you've got to really dig and discover it. And that's something that I'd like to do: discover new music, share it, and turn people on to those new musical acts.
Very cool. Do you see yourself branching out outside of YouTube, like in the music business? Do you see yourself ever writing a book or doing like written reviews or anything like that?
I'd like to do some memoirs. I don't know. That sounds a bit pretentious, memoirs, but I'd like to. I'm gonna do a web, put up a web page, and maybe just put some reflections on some bands that I've seen. I've been going to gigs for about 40 years, and I've seen lots of different bands. Your Bowies in the 80s, the Stones, the Who, the classics, and even the Damned, all the bands, over a period of 40 years. I'd like to put sort of reflections of some of the experiences, some of them hilarious, some I can't talk about in this chat. But before it sort of disappears into the ether, I think it'd be something that I'd like to put down in writing, just my experiences of some of these fantastic bands that I've seen and I've been lucky to see in Australia and overseas in my travels.
Very cool. I got a few quick questions for you, this or that, either or. You can give me just a one-word answer, or you can give me like an explanation. It's up to you. Are you ready?
No worries.
Okay, white snake or rainbow?
That is so tough. That's like choosing your favorite kids. Look, I'm a huge Whitesnake fan, but I think that I'll have to choose Rainbow, because they had probably created the greatest heavy metal or hard rock album of all time, Rising. And with Whitesnake, even though I like David Coverdale, is my favorite singer, there's a little bit to forgive. There's a few dodgy albums. So I think Rainbow. I love Richie Blackmore, so I think Rainbow Rising, Rainbow for the win.
Okay, do you like Steve Morse or Richie Blackmore?
Oh, Blackmore. He's my
Nice.
favorite guitarist of all time. Yep.
And what early incarnation do you like better? Do you like a Mark I Deep Purple, or the first two, or even the first Alice Cooper album?
the first two, the
Like
first two
the
deep.
like that early Alice Cooper, the psychedelic kind of
Oh yeah, I do. The Rod Evans, Nick
easy
Simper era.
action and
Yeah, I like that
produced for
era.
you. So which
Yeah,
would you rather have, Mark One Deep Purple or
Mark
first
One
stuff?
Deep Purple. Yeah, I
Okay,
think
right
the
on.
Alice Cooper's the early stuff is quite a challenging listen. It's into a little bit of Frank Zappa territory. Maybe I'm wrong. I love the classic Alice Cooper, but that early stuff, yeah, it's a little bit challenging, especially the first album.
Current lineup Kiss or non-makeup Kiss?
Um, Not, I think non-makeup Kiss. I'm not a big fan of the current lineup. Yeah, I think it's a little bit going down that territory of tribute band. So you've got Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons being a tribute. They're paying tribute to themselves. So, look, I like the Fabulous Four, to be quite frank. I'd prefer them. But if I've got a soft spot for Vinnie Vincent. He gets a lot of crap. He gets a lot of thrown a lot of shade, but I think that when he did the Lick It Up and the Creatures of the Night, which the box set is going everywhere and it's all out on YouTube. That's the that little sort of moment in time. I find that exciting, and I like Vinny, what he brought to the band. A little bit of pizzazz, a little bit of danger, and a piece of me would love to see him play on the final concert because he'd be so unpredictable. And I love unpredictability in rock. You don't want to see, these people just, it's very predictable. You know what's going to happen. You want somebody that's going to, put a bit of danger. And with Vinny, he'd be uncontrollable. So
Who would you say you like the best outside of Kiss? Like whose solo stuff do you like the best? Any
Ace,
Kiss member?
Ace,
Ace?
really. Yeah, I think that 78 album is classic. And it's definitely the strongest out of all those four albums. And any of those any of those songs could have gone on a Kiss album. I think he's got a lot of groove, and he really came into his own after that album. He found his voice, and then you started to hear more Ace on these songs on Dynasty or Dynasty, on Unmasked. He really found his voice. It's a bit, I really thought he was going to be the breakout star in the 80s when he signed to Eddie Trunk's label, Megaforce. But he sort of, he was sort of plateauing a little bit. But I think that between 78 and 82, that was the golden Ace years where he really found his solo voice, and he was, he was a true contender.
Do you like a raw, unfiltered live bootleg or an official release that's been touched up in the studio?
I don't care. I don't
You're
care.
not a big live guy, or
Oh no, I love live, but I don't have any preference between it being filtered or unfiltered. I'm just glad it's out there, and I'll take what I get. I'm a mad collector of bootlegs. Like White Snake, Rainbow, Deep Purple, even a bit of
nice.
Kiss. And there's been so many times I've gone to a record fair, put out a couple of notes, pay a little bit above the odds, and then you put it on the turntable, and it's like, shh, oh, done again. I've been dudded. But I'm a sucker. I'll do it again, and I'm always looking for that magical bootleg, concert that is, here's something special, something pristine, and yeah. Look, sorry, taking a bit longer to say the answer, but I like both, unfiltered or filtered. I just love bootlegs and the live experience on record.
Very cool. Last one. Monkeys or Spinal Tap?
Both. I like both,
You
but
gotta
no
choose one.
preference. Okay, Spinal Tap.
Okay,
Yeah, I
just so
think
you
that
like the movie better, or you like the music better? Or...
yeah, I like the movie better. Like Spinal Tap, I've never laughed so much when I first saw that movie in the cinemas, and a lot of it turned out to be quite realistic. It was more instead of a comedy, it was more of a documentary. But who doesn't like Nigel Tufnell and that guitar solo? And when he gets out the violin and starts scraping his foot, hello, Jimmy Page. I love it. There's so many different lines that you can just recite. I think it's great. Um, they're doing a sequel. Are you aware of that? That's
I
coming out.
heard something about that. Yeah,
It's definitely happening. It's been greenlit. So
that's hilarious.
I wonder who's going to play the drum part, because that'd be on their 60th drummer. Maybe a mysterious gardening accident. I don't know. But yeah, I love the movie, but I'm not sure about the sequel, because you know, sometimes some things are best left in the memory as you know, being unique. But anyway, we'll wait and see.
Very cool. All right, Peter Kerr, Rock Daydream Nation. Like, what can we look forward to from you in the future?
Well, I just had a clip that dropped the other day, T-Rex. So just doing the Electric Warrior album, and how possibly T-Rex created glam. So that was a lot of fun. I did that with Pete Jones, the Contrarians. Doing a show with Armando Vendetti of Sea of Tranquility, and the song, the show's going to be called "Excuse Me, Sir," but that song has been taken. It's about songs that actually rip off or imitate other songs. So that'll be a bit of a gas to do. And also doing a 1-year anniversary show with Reed Little. We are doing another David Bowie album tonight. So 1 year ago, I did Never Let Me Down, which was sort of mooted as the worst David Bowie album of all time. We're going to possibly do the second worst David Bowie album of all time, and tonight, and that will be dropping very shortly. But yeah, that's our first one year anniversary show. And I've got to thank you for everything with the Contrarians. It's been a real pleasure to be on that show. I'm going to be part of the Contrarians into the future, and I really enjoyed it. And thank you for the opportunity, because if there was no Contrarians, there'd be no Rock Daydream Nation. So there you go.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that quite a lot, and I'm sure Martin and Nick appreciate that as well. And
Yep.
yeah, last call. Go check out Rock Daydream Nation. Peter Kerr. I mean, like a lot of the folks that join our channels, and Peter's no exception, put out amazing content. These folks are very knowledgeable. They're doing it for free. If you want to go over and like and subscribe to their channel, you'd be doing them a huge favor, and you'd be showing your love and respect for us and them as well. And any of these folks deserve all of your support, because they put so much effort into their shows, and they're growing, and they're just making more content for everybody to enjoy. So hopefully you folks will go check them out, give them a like and subscribe, and the other Contrarians folks as well. And we'll see y'all next time.
Absolutely. See you later.